Breaking news for you. A Secret Service breach involving President Trump's Secret Service detail. A laptop stolen directly from the car of one of President Trump's Secret Service agents in New York City is still missing at the top of the hour. The laptop reportedly contains floor plans and evacuation protocol for Trump Tower, along with several items related to national security. And remember the California man who jumped the White House fence last week? Fox News has now learned that he was on the property's south grounds for at least 15 minutes before being detected by Secret Service. So with all of these security breaches, is President Trump safe? Let's ask Jonathan Gilliam and Morgan Wright. Morgan, I'll start with you. There's also some speculation that that White House fence jumper jiggled the door, the entranceway into the White House. So this is certainly frightening stuff.
The fact that they were on the ground for 16 minutes unfortunately tells people who might want to do harm to the president a lot of things. How long you can be on the grounds, the fact that these motion sensors, and they're supposed to be out there, are either not activating or somebody found a safe route to get up to that residence. So for all the technology they've deployed, it's not serving them well. They've got to get back to a little bit more, eyes on humans. And why this guy was on the ground for 16 minutes, I guarantee you will be the subject of an Inspector General report.
No, here's the thing, though, Jonathan. We had a series of blunders like this under President Obama. I think there was a request to make the fence higher. It's the people's house. You don't want to make it a fortress, per se, but this is certainly unacceptable.
That doesn't make any sense when they say that. It's the people's house. Let's not make it a fortress, but we don't want anybody coming in. You can't have it both ways. You could have a beautiful fence that's 50 feet high. I mean, it's not going to make the place look like a fortress, but the point is that there's other type of security methods that they could be using in order to stop this stuff. I just, having done security threat assessments, you go out and you try to forethink how could people get in there, and then you tabletop exercise that. You let people climb over when they're not expected to be there.
In this particular case, they don't even have to, these aren't assumptions. I mean, it's been done over and over again.
So how is it that these things aren't being looked at? Whoever's in charge of the threat assessments, whoever has these tactics of how they watch, I mean, it could be simply solved by putting another fence there and just having dogs roam around in there. I mean, if you wanted to go that way.
Sure.
But they're not doing anything.
On that note, Morgan, is it time for heads to roll at the Secret Service? Listen, President Trump is pretty outspoken, to say the least, and he's a lightning rod, and there are people out there that we know who want to harm him. He's a gregarious guy. He'll pull someone out of the crowd in a minute. He likes to hug, and that's great stuff. People appreciate that. But can our Secret Service keep him safe with the current leadership there?
Look, in this current threat environment, as Jonathan was saying, and good to see you again, Jonathan, it's a tough thing to do. Look, 2 weeks ago, last week I was in Las Vegas moderating a panel actually on law enforcement information sharing with the Secret Service, was one of the members. And I've known these guys, I've known a lot of these guys for a long time. They're good people. The problem is that when you increase this threat environment, when you've got social media threats, when you've got people stretched to the breaking point in terms of shifts and hours, trying to find people to come into law enforcement is a very tough thing. So yeah, it is going to be a stretch. And to Jonathan's point, we've got to find a different ways to deploy not just technology, but good old-fashioned common sense. But whether or not heads should roll, I think you got to go back and say, is it a failure of planning or is it a failure of people? And if it's a failure of planning, you got to rethink this process. If it's a failure of people, if somebody fell asleep at their post, they were derelict, that's a separate issue. But at the end of the day, keeping the president, regardless of party, keeping the president safe is so important to our standing in the world.